Sunday morning, 7 o'clock. I stepped out of my house to begin my daily gardening routine. The morning air, filled with the fragrance of roses, felt pleasant against my skin. In my well-tended garden, more than 20 varieties of roses bloomed proudly. The white houses of our neighborhood gleamed in the morning sun, while birdsong echoed through the quiet residential streets. My name is Carol Hamilton. This year, at 65, I retired from my position as a cardiac surgeon. I'm spending my quiet retirement years in this colonial-style house of 50 years. Located in the Green Hills district of Chicago's suburbs, our home, with its deep green window frames and crimson door, is a place of memories built over 40 years with my husband, George. My reflection in the mirror shows gentle age-appropriate wrinkles, a silver bob, and black-rimmed glasses. Today, as always, I'm wearing my usual attire, a pastel blouse, carefully pressed slacks, and understated pearl accessories. The meticulous habits I developed as a physician remain part of who I am, even in retirement. In the garden, there's a special space for my beloved granddaughter, Olivia. A wooden swing set, a small sandbox, and a picnic table. On weekends, this place fills with her laughter. The greenhouse blooms with seasonal flowers, and the flower beds are planted with colorful flora. Inside, cherished family photographs adorn the mantel above the living room fireplace. Classical furniture fills the room, and large windows overlook the well-maintained garden. The kitchen is clean and orderly, with Olivia's special stepping stool in place. In the master bedroom, photos of my husband still hang, and the subdued color scheme brings peace to my heart. George, who passed away 10 years ago, and I supported each other's careers while enjoying gardening together on holidays. We raised our only son, David, as a team. David followed in his father's footsteps to become a doctor, and we shared a proud bond as parent and child. However, 2 years ago, we lost him in a sudden accident. What helped me overcome that grief was the presence of David's wife, Mary, and my granddaughter Olivia. Mary and I had built a good relationship from the start, and we maintain our connection even after losing my son. I feel our bond through Olivia has grown even stronger. My relationship with Olivia, in particular, gives my life meaning. Every weekend on Grandma's Day, we cook together and enjoy gardening. Her expressions when telling me about school events are just like her father's. As a grandmother, I feel that being able to give unconditional love is the greatest happiness I can experience now. My weekday routine is regular. I wake at 6 for meditation to start the day. Garden maintenance begins at 7, followed by housework and reading at 9. From noon, I participate in volunteer activities, and afternoons are for hobbies. I start dinner preparations at 5 in the evening and begin preparing for bed at 8. This quiet daily routine keeps my heart peaceful. And then weekends. Special time with Olivia begins. We cook together, play in the garden, and sometimes work on homework. We look through family albums, sharing memories of David and George. Such peaceful daily moments wove our happy times together. Everyone believed these peaceful days would continue forever. No one could have imagined that everything would change on that Sunday morning. One Saturday afternoon, the doorbell rang at its usual time. Opening the door revealed Mary and Olivia's smiling faces. This was our small ritual marking the beginning of the weekend. "You look well this week, Olivia," Yes. Are we making cookies today? Of course. Let's try a new recipe today. Mary watched us fondly before saying, "I'll pick her up at 6, and leaving. In the kitchen, Olivia immediately put on her favorite pink apron. Imitating my movements, she began measuring ingredients with practiced ease. The sweet aroma of chocolate chip cookies filled the kitchen. Did Dad like these cookies too? Olivia's sudden question made me pause for a moment. Yes, chocolate chip was his favorite. I love them too. I'm like Dad, aren't I? Memories of David suddenly tightened my chest. But watching Olivia smile happily before me spread warmth through my heart. After baking cookies, we headed to the garden as usual. Wearing small gardening gloves, Olivia carefully tended to the roses under my guidance. Her childlike charm showed when she would chase after butterflies. Her profile while watering the plants together looked just like David's from years ago. In our area, our lifestyle was warmly watched over by the community. I served as president of the gardening club and taught gardening knowledge at monthly regular meetings. At the senior center, I volunteered twice a week as a medical consultant, utilizing my experience as a doctor. At Green Hills Private Elementary School, I was actively involved as a PTA advisor. The health lectures drawing from my experience as a school physician were well received by parents. The school Olivia attended was a prestigious institution with a lush green campus. Under their small class education policy, they carefully nurtured each student's talents. Especially in the drama club held after school on Wednesdays, Olivia showed enough talent to be assigned leading roles. She also excelled in science and art, earning trust from her teachers. My daily routine remained regular. Every morning at 7, I went out to the garden with the sunrise. While tending to the roses, I reflected on memories with my husband and days with my son. Daily joys included neighborhood children greeting me on their way to school and interactions with neighbors who would bring seasonal flowers. Mary and I frequently kept in touch by phone. "Mom, can you attend next week's school event?" "Of course. I'm looking forward to seeing Olivia's performance." In this upscale residential area of Chicago's suburbs, traditional family values and intergenerational community connections were still carefully preserved. Under the refreshing early summer climate, the garden roses reached full bloom, and the trees' greenery deepened day by day. Indoors, the living room clock ticked quietly, and the aroma of freshly brewed coffee wafted through the air. Sunlight from the garden gently illuminated the well-organized bookshelf and clean kitchen utensils. Family photos on the walls were testament to our history. The colorful roses, birdsong, and leaves rustling in the breeze added color to this peaceful daily life. However, lately, I had noticed something different about Mary. Phone conversations had become shorter, and she sometimes seemed like she wanted to say something. Olivia occasionally showed unnatural expressions too. But I convinced myself it was just my imagination. Sunday morning began with the usual tranquility. The clock showed 7 a.m., and the temperature was pleasant. The garden roses sparkled with morning dew, blooming beautifully in the early summer sunlight. Pearl-like dewdrops scattered across the lawn, and the refreshing chirping of birds breathed life into this quiet morning. I had been tending to the roses since early morning. While thinking about new seedlings to plant, I carefully removed dead leaves one by one. This task always brought me peace. The roses that George and I had grown together continued to bloom as proof of our love. At 10 a.m., slightly earlier than scheduled, Olivia arrived. "Grandma, can we tend to the roses together today too?" Olivia ran into the garden with an unusually bouncy voice. "Yes, of course. We'll plant new seedlings too." She put on her small gardening gloves and eagerly began digging soil beside me. Her touch when handling rose buds was as delicate as if handling treasures. Her face lighting up whenever butterflies flew by was utterly adorable. The morning passed peacefully like this. After tending to the roses, we prepared a light lunch together. While making Olivia's favorite tuna sandwiches, I listened to stories about school and her friends. After lunch, we took commemorative photos with the blooming roses as a backdrop. I hoped she would look back on these memories when she grew older. However, that tranquility was suddenly shattered. At 2:30 in the afternoon, I first heard sirens in the distance. Just as I thought they would pass by, the sound grew louder until it stopped in front of our house. Looking out, I saw 2 police cars pulled up to the curb, and 4 officers and 1 child welfare worker stepping out. At that moment, an ominous feeling ran through my heart. However, I couldn't have imagined what was about to happen. 2 officers approached me from both sides as I worked in the rose garden. One remained on standby while another moved toward Olivia. An unusual tension hung in the air under the blue sky. "Carol Hamilton, you're under arrest on suspicion of abuse." Those words didn't seem real. It felt like a nightmare. The gardening trowel fell from my hands, making a dull sound on the soil. "This is a mistake. I would never hurt my granddaughter." Despite my desperate protests, cold handcuffs were placed on my wrists. Their metallic sound forced the reality of the situation upon me. In my confused mind, I felt the trust one had built as a doctor, grandmother, and community member crumbling like a sand castle. And then, at that moment, I caught sight of Olivia's expression a few meters away. It was a meaningful smirk I had never seen before. It would take a little more time to understand the meaning of that smile. Neighbors began gathering in the street. Some peered through windows, others started recording with smartphones. Small whispers could be heard from among people who had always treated me with respect. "How could this be? Unbelievable, the gentle Dr. Hamilton." Each voice stabbed deeply into my heart. Just before being pushed into the police car, I looked at Olivia one last time. Her thin smile made her seem like a different person. The innocent granddaughter who had been tending roses with me this morning was nowhere to be seen. And so, my peaceful daily life crumbled away along with the gloriously blooming roses. Lowered from the police car's back seat, I was led into the police station. The cold sensation of handcuffs still lingered on my wrists. The smell of disinfectant grew stronger as we walked down the hallway. This building had a cold atmosphere unlike a hospital. As a doctor who had treated countless patients over 40 years, I never dreamed I would be brought to the police as a suspect. The interrogation room was smaller than I had imagined. A heavy iron table and chairs were fixed in the space surrounded by gray walls. A one-way mirror was embedded in the wall, and a small recording device's red light blinked on the ceiling. An old water cooler stood in the corner. After what seemed like an eternity, the door opened, and a middle-aged male detective entered. Holding a thick file, he sat down in the chair looking tired. His eyes held a sharp gaze that came from years of investigative experience. As soon as he sat at the desk, he began in a quiet but intimidating tone. Multiple bruises have been confirmed on Olivia's body. At those words, I felt my heart stop for a moment. Blood drained from my face. Cold sweat seeped into my palms. That's impossible. I would never. Words failed me. Every weekend spent with Olivia. Tending roses, baking cookies, sometimes helping with homework. In all those precious moments, hurting my granddaughter was unimaginable. Happy times until this morning ran through my mind like a fleeting dream. As a doctor, you knew how to make bruises less noticeable, didn't you? The detective's words cut through my heart like an icy blade. His gaze held a coldness that seemed to have already decided I was guilty. Wait, please. This must be some mistake. Despite my desperate defense, the detective began laying out evidence on the desk. Olivia's medical report. Photographs documenting bruises on her body. And witness statements from neighbors. Each piece of evidence seemed to slowly crumble my life away. The location and size of bruises in the photographs did appear intentional. However, I hadn't caused them. Even as I insisted this, the detective's expression remained unchanged. The second hand of the clock on the interrogation room wall ticked forward with abnormally loud sounds. Those sounds seemed to echo as if cornering me. In this surreal situation, my mind was filled with confusion. Why were there such bruises on Olivia? Why was I being suspected? And what was the meaning of that last smirk? Questions swirled and vanished in my mind. Outside, events were already rapidly unfolding. Local news programs had begun reporting on the case as suspected abuse of private elementary school student. The footage showed my arrest in the Rose Garden, with detailed coverage of my background and community activities. Ironically, my previous good deeds seemed to make the shock of the incident even greater. On social media, my name and photo spread instantly. Various speculations flew around as "shocking case by trusted doctor." Comments like, "Was her usual good behavior just an act?" and "a cunning method using her position as a doctor," appeared one after another without any basis. Weekly magazines were already flooding the police station with interview requests. The gardening club I had been active in for years issued a statement calling for suspension of activities. The gardening discussions and smiles we shared at monthly meetings might never return. I wondered how the roses I had carefully nurtured were doing now. The neighborhood's reaction was sharply divided. Some supporters believed in my innocence based on years of friendship. Others condemned it as cunning abuse utilizing my position as a doctor. Faces that once exchanged greetings now looked at me with suspicious eyes. And this division created deep rifts in the community. I heard that the senior center had already requested my resignation from volunteer activities. How many people had I counseled as a medical consultant? That relationship of trust was about to crumble in an instant. The achievements and reputation I had built up seemed to be crumbling like a sand castle. The fluorescent lights in the interrogation room mercilessly illuminated my face. In the reflected light, I could see myself in the mirror. The peaceful expression I had worn while tending roses just hours ago was gone, replaced by deep lines of fatigue and confusion. Dark circles had appeared under my eyes, my cheeks were hollow, and my hair was disheveled. I looked like a different person. In this narrow space, I desperately traced my memories. Weekends with Olivia. Changes in Mary's behavior. And that unnatural smirk. Everything must be some mistake. But what that something was, I couldn't yet see. Only one thing was certain in this confusion, the fact that I had never hurt my granddaughter. On the third morning in detention, my attorney Sarah Watson appeared with new evidence. Her expression carried tension, indicating some important discovery. Dr. Hamilton, interesting footage was found on the school's security cameras. Sarah placed her tablet in front of me. The screen showed a hallway in Green Hills private elementary school. In the dim after-school lighting, Mary was visible with an unknown man. The man wore an expensive suit and exuded the typical air of a real estate developer. This man is James Morrison, a real estate developer. He's been pushing forward with large-scale redevelopment plans in this area recently. The footage continued. Olivia followed behind them at a trot. They entered an unused classroom. Though their conversation wasn't recorded, Olivia could be seen repeatedly performing the same actions. As if practicing a performance. Furthermore, we found this evidence. Sarah spread new documents on the table. Receipts for special makeup supplies. Professional cosmetics and tools for creating artificial bruises were listed in detail. All had been purchased with Mary's credit card. Next shown were Mary's financial records. There were traces of multiple transfers from Morrison Development Corporation over the past 6 months. The amounts were too large to be considered normal transactions. And this is the decisive evidence. What Sarah showed was a draft of real estate transactions. Detailed plans to convert the area, including my home, into a large commercial facility. However, there was one obstacle to its realization: my land rights inherited through succession. Mary would have been in a position to gain asset management rights as Olivia's guardian if you were arrested. All the points were slowly connecting. However, the most important testimony was still to come. The next day, a meeting with Olivia was permitted. With a plainclothes officer present, my granddaughter began speaking through tears. Mom said, "This was special acting." In a small voice, Olivia gradually revealed the truth. "What kind of acting did you practice?" Sarah asked gently. "Practicing scary faces, and practicing laughing at the end." Olivia's confession unraveled all the mysteries. "Every night, Uncle James made me practice. How to make smiles, how to show sad faces, everything." Her words pained my heart. I gently stroked her head and said, "It must have been hard. Such a heavy burden on such small shoulders." I loved spending weekends with Grandma. But if I didn't do what Mom said? Olivia's voice trembled. When I showed that last smile, I was really about to cry. "I know. You were very brave. I'm proud of you for finally telling the truth." A year has passed since then. Our lives gradually but surely returned to their normal course. The weekend cooking classes resumed, and Olivia enjoyed cooking more enthusiastically than before. "Grandma, I've perfected these cookies." Your skills have really improved." I want to teach my school friends next time. The gardening club activities also resumed. Though there was some initial awkwardness, the members who learned the truth welcomed me back warmly. Dr. Hamilton, the contests weren't the same without your rose garden. Yes, it's all thanks to everyone's support. Volunteer work at the senior center regained its former vitality. We're so glad you're back, Doctor. Their words warmed my heart. 6 months after the verdict, a letter arrived from Mary, Mom, and Olivia. What I did was an unforgivable mistake that I can never make up for. Blinded by greed, I lost sight of what was truly important. I don't expect forgiveness. But someday. The end of the letter was blurred with tears. Mary soon moved to another city. Though custody of Olivia was transferred to me, it wasn't what I had wanted. Olivia, you can tell me anytime if you want to see Mom. Yes, but right now, I want to stay here with you, Grandma. One spring afternoon, in the garden full of blooming roses, Olivia said with a curious expression, Grandma, these roses are blooming more beautifully than last year. Yes, they've grown stronger and more beautiful after overcoming hard times. Just like us. I spontaneously hugged Olivia. She smiled, looking slightly embarrassed. Grandma, I'll never lie again. I promise. Yes, and no one will ever make you lie again. In the garden filled with the fragrance of roses, we made our new vow. The little actress who had been manipulated by adults' desires was gone. In her place was my precious granddaughter who had regained her honest smile. Trust with the community was gradually restored as well. If anything, our bonds seem to have deepened through this experience. Perhaps there are truths that can only be seen through being wounded. Doctor, would you serve as a judge for this year's gardening contest? Of course. I'm looking forward to seeing everyone's gardens. Our former peaceful daily life returned to us, taking on slightly different forms. It's not exactly the same as before. But it's a new daily life bound by deeper ties forged through overcoming trials. Like roses blooming more beautifully after enduring a harsh winter.